Green Lantern, the animated series, is just a brilliant piece of writing and animation. It's among DC's best, and I don't say that lightly because everything DC has put out animation-wise has been excellent, almost everything. But no, I can tell you how excited I was that they were doing an actual series that wasn't Batman, and it wasn't Superman, it wasn't Justice League. Because, when you're watching Justice League or any of the Justice Team type shows, it's always exciting when you see something from a storyline that you like show. It's like, oh, they're doing the Green Lantern episode. Sinestro shows up. But this was an entire series of the Green Lantern episode. It was so exciting when it was coming out. It wasn't explicitly or specific. It wasn't tied to the movie. It just they were like, oh, we're doing a Green Lantern movie. Let's do a series and try to capitalize on the hype that was going to build. That didn't quite work out the way they hoped, but hey, and if nothing else, we got, even if you don't like the movie, you can appreciate the movie's existence because we got this series out of it, and this series is fucking brilliant. Um, at first people were kind of down on it because it was like a CG animated series, and not traditional 2D. I actually think it looks really good, and I think it holds up well, like really extremely well. I've noticed a lot of the DC animation and of the direct to DVD movies, I think, has gotten there's been like a slight drop in quality. I think this looks great. This was kind of like the sister rival series to Young Justice. I think this looks way better than Young Justice, just visually speaking. Not that Young Justice looked bad. I just think this looks way better. It was it nailed everything from, especially mind the Jeff Johns stuff pretty hardcore, which is good because the Jeff Johns stuff I think is the most interesting Green Lantern stuff. But it nailed Green Lantern stuff. It did original things really well. It did everything well. Everything it did. I sat down and watched the entire series again, and there's not one episode that's like, there's not a stinker in the bunch. Every episode, there's no filler episodes. There's every episode, at least in some small way, contributes to the ongoing plot of the season, even if it doesn't seem like that way first off. But it's Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan, not my. I like Hal Jordan. He's not my favorite Green Lantern, but I like. He was very Kirk-like in this series. He reminded me a lot of Captain Kirk. Also, one thing they did very interestingly was that he was very he was a very pragmatic guy in the series. This I'll skip right to the end of the first season. When Atrocitus and the Red Lanterns show up, Hal has like this big heroic cavalry moment where he jumps in and he's like, Atrocitus, you're right. And you're like, what? And he actually tries to talk to him and tries to implement diplomacy, which that happens a lot with him, and he does that a lot, and it's a very refreshing and interesting take on a superhero when their first act is diplomacy, I think. So that was really cool. He also hits on everything in space, so it's kind of even though they kind of have their cake and eat it too in a weird way. They have him have this great love with Carol Ferris, but he totally was hitting on Iolande and not so much Gieta, but there was a little I don't want to get into that, but other than that, I think Hal was all around a great character in this. Kilowog was the second most prominent Green Lantern character, and Kilowog he's always great. He's just a big, lovable curmudgeon, and he also has this really subtle story going on with his family being lost and him building a new one. It's very subtle. They never explicitly you guys are my family now. Apparently Kilowog sounds does that sound like that? I was gonna say Ben Grimm. I don't even know if that sounded like Ben Grimm. Anyway, so the two main lanterns, very good. The other two main characters were these original characters they made up, Aya and Razor, and they were awesome. I think the Green Lantern comics fan base latched onto this because they were doing such great stuff adaptation wise. But I think a lot of non Green Lantern fans latched on to the series because of Aya and Razor. The fact that they're original characters meant that nobody knew what they were going to do. That they could take those characters in any direction that they wanted. I remember I saw the world premiere of like the first episode at New York Comic Con, and it ended with Razor being captured. Razor's a Red Lantern, being captured by the Green Lanterns, and I was like, okay, I'm going to call it right now. He's going to be a Green Lantern by the end of the series. But I was wrong. I didn't. So they were not predictable in what happened in this series. So Razor is this classic brooding bad boy type guy. He's also kind of he's like a badass brooding Spock, essentially. Like he's very cold and logical too, but he's also very there's a layer of cynicism, and he's got a pain on the inside. But not my cup of tea. But I liked him. Aya was interesting as she. This earnest. There was like a very sweet earnestness to her that she really just wanted to be a hero. She was an AI. And in case you want to watch the series, she was their AI who like slowly gained sentience, and fell in love. But so every episode was really good. Every episode contributed. Like for example, the first episodes, they introduce the characters, and they also introduce these liberators. They're essentially a bomb that is designed to destroy a planet. And then later in the series, Mogo shows up, and I didn't put two and two together, but I should have been like, oh, Mogo's here, and the Red Lanterns have a weapon specifically designed to kill planets. Of course, that comes into play later, but I can't believe I didn't put that together. But first episode, this is new to the series, I believe. There's a thing called Frontier Lanterns, which are there's Guardian Space, which is most of the universe, and then there's the Frontier, which is like all the areas of the universe that the Guardians that have no knowledge of. And they've been sending rings out there to like kind of I'm making them sound very imperial, but to try to expand their influence. And that's also where the Red Lanterns are from. They sent Manhunters out there too, and the Manhunters wiped out. In the comics, it's Sector 666, but I don't know if they ever call it that in the series. Atrocitus' home. So the Red Lanterns are all pissed, and they've been wiping out Green Lanterns, the Frontier Green Lanterns. So Hal Jordan takes Kilowog and Aya, or the Interceptor, which Aya is the nav computer AI for, and flies out to the Frontier. I was very cynical when I first saw the Interceptor. I was like, oh, that's just a toy. That's the only why are Green Lanterns flying in a spaceship? It's just an excuse to sell toys. But if you think about it, it does make sense. They would waste a shit ton of battery power flying all the way to the Frontier every time they needed to go out there. So, and it gave the series a very Star Trek vibe to me, that they had this ship they were always flying around on. Then they meet Shir Rev, who's made up for the show. I actually really liked Shir Rev, even though he was barely in the series. Voiced by Kurtwood Smith, Clarence Boddicker, or Red Foreman. But he does a lot of DC animation. I think he must be friends with somebody, or maybe he's just a big comic book nerd, and I don't know it. But I really liked his character in this, who was in it very briefly. So Razor is about to blow up a planet, and they stop him. He's regretfully, and then they stop him, and he joins up. Grudgingly joins up with them, but of course, they become friends. You know where this is going. They do the thing about this is the season was separated into two halves. The first half, I liked both. Second one was better because the first half, it was Green Lantern, but it was also very like generic space show. There wasn't too many things that were specifically very Green Lantern. I feel. I mean, with exceptions, they did the Mogo story, and they did like a Star Sapphire story, and they did the Iolande story, which is right out of the comics too. So maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but I feel like it was more generic space adventure in the first season. Not that it was bad. But yeah, speaking of the Mogo episode was great. I'm glad I didn't know that it was Mogo at first, because they did that Mogo story in Green Lantern and Emerald Knights, and I knew what it was, so I got to enjoy my friends who didn't know what it was discovering what Mogo was, but I got to experience that in this episode where, like, I don't know, for some reason I didn't pick up on the fact that it was Mogo until I did eventually, but not as fast as I would assume I would have. That episode also introduced Saint Walker. Saint Walker's a character who's very popular in the comic books. I always thought he was He was okay. He was super badass in this. I think it was his voice actor. His voice actor made it was really. He had this. You wouldn't imagine. At least I didn't. When I was reading, I wouldn't imagine him having like a baritone, like a deep voice when you're reading him. But it worked. It was really well. It worked really well for him, and he was. He's more, I think, like a sarcastic. He's more of like a fun streak to him in this than he does in the books, where he's always like very, very religious, you know. And he also kicks a lot of ass. He kicks the shit out of Razor. This is even before he becomes a Blue Lantern, but he kicks the shit out of Razor. Pretty funny. Like effortlessly and just like making fun of him the entire time. It was pretty good. Anything else in the first season that was really cool? I mean, everything was good, but I'm trying to think of any specific episodes that kind of... The regime change, the Iolande episode was good. No, the regime change was the Red Lantern Rancor one, which is also really good. Rancor? I forget his name. Again, the last episode where that scene like where Hal tries to talk down Atrocitus, that like completely caught me off guard. I thought like, wow, that is really interesting. I did not see that coming. It's a very fresh take on the climactic showdown is when the hero is like, let's tries like you have some grievances and let's actually talk about this. And then of course Atrocitus is like, no, I'm going to kill you. And then you get to have a big fight. So you get to have your cake and eat it too. First season, very good. Even better was the second season. Should I risk trying to flip it? Because, let's see. Yeah. Even better was the second season. First episode, right off the bat, Guy fucking Gardner. I mentioned that Hal isn't my favorite Lantern. That's because Guy Gardner totally is my favorite Lantern. I don't think he gets enough, I don't think he gets nearly enough love. I'm not trying to knock Hal, Kyle, and John, but for the most part, they're all different. But for the most part, I think they're pretty interchangeable. But Guy's his own man. You can't say that Guy's interchangeable with anybody out there. Plus, I really like his design. I think he's got the coolest Green Lantern costume. But yeah, they did him really well on this show. He shows up, voiced by Daedric Bader. Daedric Bader was awesome in it. He's funny. He's kind of a dick. Him and Hal don't get along. Him and Hal have a very tumultuous relationship where they go from being like kind of buddy to hating each other to tolerant to each other to friendly to hating each other. It's very good. And then that goes. Oh, I got to go into my one problem with this series. This is a very weird problem, but in the second episode, they get the Interceptor back. The main plot of the second series is that there's the Anti-Monitor is sending Manhunters to, like, you know, I actually have never read anything with the Anti-Monitor in it in the comic book, so I'm not really, I know he is the Anti-Monitor, he's the Monitor from the Antimatter universe, but I don't really know what his deal is, honestly. And this, he's essentially Galactus. I don't know if that's what he was in the comics too, but what he wants to do is eat planets and stuff and eat the universe. So we built a bunch of Manhunters to help him eat the universe. But in the second episode, Hal's made Honor Guard. Guy's the Green Lantern of Earth. Kind of a little flip from the comic books where it was the reverse. And so he grabs Kilowog. There's an awesome Chip cameo where Chip kicks the shit out of Hal Jordan. It's pretty funny. And see, again, Chip kicking the shit out of Hal Jordan. That's like, you wouldn't catch Batman getting the shit kicked out of him by a squirrel. Like, no, because that's why I like Hal. That's why, because he's a real guy. He just seems like a real dude. You know, they're not afraid to get him roughed up a little, make him look a little dumb, because not like dumb, but you know what I mean. Like he's allowed to be fallible, unlike other characters who I shall remain nameless, despite the fact that I just named them like 30 seconds ago. But they get to now to my problem. They get to the Interceptor, and there's this new nav computer, Lanos, and they just instantly start treating him like absolute shit. It pissed me off. Like, Lanos, yeah, sure, he's not as sophisticated as Io, but he tries. Like, okay, like, there's no reason to just treat him like absolute garbage. It turns out Io is being dissected, so Hal sneaks into the science director's lab, and there's a really funny moment with Chase Leon. Chase Leon was awesome. And he switches out Aya's AI for Lanos's. So while the science director is like, they show like blades like coming towards Lanos's like eyes, And he's like, no, I am Lenos. Please do not dissect me. And then it just cuts away. And I'm like, that is horrifying. That is horrifying shit. That Hal just essentially abandoned Lenos to torture and death because he has his little clique. And if you're not part of his clique, you can go fuck yourself. Yeah, I know he's not like as sophisticated or as alive as Aya, but that's just because he's not as alive as somebody else. He deserves to be fucking tortured to death. Come on, poor little Lenos. And people are saying like I've heard people say like he's not as he doesn't have the consciousness. Later in the series, he does like a heroic sacrifice and saves everybody. So he obviously had some kind of silicon soul. Also, Hal was very cool with letting him kill himself and sacrifice himself. I guarantee you if that was Aya or Razor or Kilowog, he wouldn't be like Lenos is like, get off the ship, I will take care of the Anti-Monitor. And then Hal's like, it's like, this is a win-win for me. I get to get rid of this fucker and take out the Anti-Monitor in one blow. If that was anybody else, he'd be like, no, we'll figure out another way. Okay, so the treatment of Lenos is the one thing that I didn't like in this series. So they get Aya back and they go to... What do they go after that? I'm going to go through the second season because the second season is good. Oh, they also team up with Tomar-Re is in this for like 2 episodes. Tomar-Re they make him like super Spock-like. He's very awesome. Always he's thrown. He had a trident was like his signature construct. I like how they had little signature constructs for a lot of the characters. Like Kilowog, he makes hammers, and he also makes Gatling guns a lot. Hal used a lot of hands, as he always does. A lot of baseball stuff with him, too. He mentions he plays baseball at one point in this series. Guy uses sports equipment. Razor just a lot of bladed weapons. I wonder if the fact that they had like signature constructs was due to the fact that because this was a CG animated series, they had like only a certain amount of assets that they could build. So maybe that's why like Kilowog always used a hammer because like they only have like 70 constructs or something to choose from, so let's always give Kilowog a hammer. I don't know, but it worked. It worked in the series' advantage. It worked to the series' advantage, I think. Then, as I said that that this season was awesome because they really do a lot of good Green Lantern comic book stuff. But one of the best episodes was nothing to do with anything. Hal Jordan gets flung into another universe where it's like all like Victorian era steampunk, and there's like the steam lantern. Where did this come from? I don't know, but it was amazing. I loved it. It was just a really out of nowhere idea. They mentioned Alan Scott in it too. So, they mentioned a Green Lantern with a red shirt and a cape, which presumably is Alan Scott. That was a really good episode. And then halfway through the season, a shocking twist. Aya shuts down like her emotions and becomes like a cold, logical. She says she shuts down her emotions, but she still seems pretty angry and vindictive. But she tears the Anti-Monitor's head off and takes over its body and puts the Manhunters under her control. And she's pretty much just going to wipe out life too. So second verse same as the first. That was a shocking twist. I don't think anyone saw that coming. It was very good. I've skipped over the Sinestro episode. I love Sinestro, voiced by Hellboy, voiced by Ron Perlman. It was awesome. It was a really good episode. They were doing Sinestro right, where they didn't just go right to him being an evil bastard. He was Hal Jordan's friend. Possible mentor. They never explicitly say was Hal Jordan's mentor, but it can be inferred that he was. But then he does some like super bad and super badass shit in that episode. So, again, they were hinting at Sinestro Corps, and they were hinting at Blackest Night, and so it was very sad that I'll get into the cancellation later. Now I'm having too much fun talking about how good the series is. So, the Aya Monitor starts taking over. There's a good episode where she brings Atrocitus back to be. She can't decide, like, why is Love because she's. Love and hate are kind of like the flip side of the same coin, and she's experienced both for the first time recently, and she wants to know which one's stronger. So she gets Carol Ferris, the Star Sapphire of Love, and Atrocitus, the Red Lantern of Hate, and gets them to fight. She gets them to fight and see which one wins. Love wins, but then Aya is kind of a sore loser. I guess she wanted Hate to win. But when Hate lost, she's like, man, I'm still going to destroy the universe anyway. So then they do one of my favorite characters recently introduced is Larfleeze. And the Larfleeze episode was so good. Like Larfleeze's characterization, he pretty much has three settings. One where he's really powerful and kind of scary. Two, he is pathetic and a wretch. And in three, he's just kind of like a funny guy. And this series somehow managed to do all three of those in the span of like 20 minutes. And they think maybe the Orange Lantern battery can be the edge they need against Aya. And then they get it, and then they run. He's very Gollum-like. He's running around like Gollum. And then Hal gets it, and he goes crazy. If you don't know, the Orange Lantern is powered by greed, so it makes you crazy when you use it. And there's a lot of good homages to Green Lantern covers, where he's doing the Hal Jordan does the thing with a bunch of rings on his finger, and he's hugging the battery. I'm just gonna sit here and gush about this series because it's so good. Brother Worth got to be in it, and it's like you get to see like characters you never thought you would see animated. Like I'm shocked Guy Gardner got to be animated. He's a major Green Lantern character. Brother Worth was in it, and he's if you don't know, Brother Worth is this Blue Lantern elephant who's got an Indian accent, and he's awesome. The last episode was really, really good. Like I didn't know what was gonna happen. It ends with in case you didn't see the series, I'm just going to leave it at I'm not going to go through the plot anymore. I'm just going to leave it at that. I've already spoiled the Aya going evil thing, so I'm sorry for that. But I'm going to leave it at that. What else is great about this series? The music was pretty good. There's a couple of really standout episodes. Other than that, it was good. The Steam Lantern one had a really good score, and the last episode had a really good score. I actually won the CD from a contest from the Blog of Oa, which is the best Green Lantern site on the web as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, this was an incredibly sad moment when I found out that this series was going to get canceled. This and Young Justice, it was like a 1-2 punch to the gut. And I noticed way more people were pissed off about Young Justice being canceled. But I was like, no way, Green Lantern needed to go on more than Young Justice, in my opinion. Not to knock Young Justice, I really love Young Justice too. But think about it. What was Young Justice building towards? Darkseid. Yawn. I've seen Darkseid a billion times. What was Green Lantern building up to? Sinestro Corps War and Blackest Night. Holy shit. That would have been amazing. And I would have loved to see how they would do Blackest Night, because A, it's a freaking hardcore story to be telling in what is ostensibly a kid's cartoon, and B, like one of the Blackest Night for Blackest Night to be a thing, a lot of characters have to be dead. So this show it had a good chunk of characters, but didn't have a lot of characters, and had even less characters who had died. So I don't know, but I mean, presumably these people all have people from their past who would die that we don't know about, like Kilowog's family and Hal Jordan's father. Which is weird. I want to mention something. In the second episode, they go to a prison where they like make them relive their past horrors. And I thought like, oh, this is gonna be a good way to inform Hal Jordan and Kilowog's past in a very organic, natural way. They were gonna show, they're gonna put on these helmets that make you relive your worst nightmares, and they're gonna show Kilowog's family being killed. And they're gonna show Hal's father crashing. They didn't show that. I thought that was really weird. I thought that was a really weird choice to not show that. Well, whatever. One issue I have with this series is I find that their ring I felt like their rings got depowered too much. Like I don't know. I feel like I saw Hal fight hand to hand a little too often. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just making up problems now. But I feel like their rings got drained like a lot in this series. I don't know. Hawkman showed up. There's like cool DC Universe things started to show up, like Hawkman, not the Hawkman, but Hawkmen. Thanagarian showed up. Is there anything else like from non-Green Lantern stuff that showed up? I can't think. I don't think so. But yeah, this canceled because it wasn't selling out of toys. I can't imagine that the Justice League cartoon sold like a lot of toys, probably a decent amount. But I mean, like I'm going to say teen oriented. I was about to say adult oriented, but not really. I think Justice League was like a mature show that aired like at 8 o'clock at night. Like, what happened to that Cartoon Network? Damn it! I'm not saying that every show has to be like a Green Lantern, but like, how many times a day can you show Adventure Time? Like, can we get Green Lantern? Can we get Green Lantern and Young Justice? The DC Nation block was awesome for like a hot minute, and then it sucked. No offense to Teen Titans Go Everywhere the Batman, but they were not up to the standard that was set by the previous two shows. Let's just rattle off the things that would have happened and that could have happened in this series if it was not canceled. Blackest fucking Night, Sinestro Corps War, Sinestro going bad in general, Guy becoming a Red Lantern, Dex-Starr showing up. Dex-Starr! You're telling me like all they would have to do was release a clip from the Dex-Starr episode, and that would be an internet meme. I could guarantee you that would have been an internet sensation. Dex-Starr versus Chip, that could have been a fight. They could have brought in other DC stuff. They could have brought in it didn't even have to be from Earth. It could be like Adam Strange could have showed up. Lobo could have showed up. Oh, they could have had Lobo become a Red Lantern. That could have been something. Or maybe Red Lantern Guy fighting Lobo, or Guy fighting Red Lantern Lobo, or Red Lantern fighting Red Lantern Lobo. Why didn't this show go on? But Earth stuff. Like Superman could have showed up. That would have been great. Green Arrow or Flash could have showed up, and they traditionally are portrayed as Hal's best friends. That would have been a good episode. So, someone just walked around upstairs. I'm sorry about that. You're ruining my video. What the hell's going on up there? So I guess that's my cue to stop. I can only sit here and gush so long. Green Lantern, great series. It's a damn shame it ended. Why the Norts did they cancel it? I'll see you guys next time.